All right, just waiting for that stream preview to show up to be sure stuff is going good. All right, we're good. Hello, it is I, Steven, Visceral Serenity, VSDH Development, any of the other names I go by on the internet. I'm back for another stream. I just decided to do a quick nighttime stream tonight. Probably for a little bit less time than a normal stream would be, but I just felt like streaming tonight. And I actually prepared a little something for this stream too, so that should be a little bit interesting. Today, I'm interested in going over a couple of Bandai Namco sites, like Elden Ring, the Elden Ring, like new Elden Ring game that's coming out. There's like a dark Pac-Man Metroidvania game that looks pretty neat. I actually didn't even know about it, but the website for it is pretty sweet. The Street Fighter website, I just kind of want to take a look at a few of their sites and just kind of see what I think. Like I took like a brief look just the other day at a few of them, and I'm like, oh, neat. So I'm gonna go in blind as usual on this stream. If I choose to cover them next stream, I'll take notes this time and go over some more specific ones next time. That seems to be a general pattern that I like to follow for these kind of streams, where I go in blind one stream and then in the next stream I go in with some specific notes and some specific stuff. Right after I take a big sip of water, I'll probably get started here. I did forget to hydrate a little bit before I streamed, but this is a very big water bottle and it's completely full, so I think I'll pull through. I think I'll pull through. All right, to the Elgato capture card, in which I have a few different things open. As I mentioned, I've been just kind of looking at a few Bandai Namco websites. They're a major game publisher, so let me turn my green screen on. I'm gonna move myself a little bit to the side here. They're a major game publisher. You've probably heard of a lot of their games: Dragon Ball, Elden Ring, and there's one I think this game looks awesome. Is the Shadow Labyrinth? I actually had no idea about this game. For copyright reasons, I am not going to show the trailer or any like music for the game or anything. But it looks like it's like a dark Pac-Man Metroidvania game, and I think the game looks awesome. It doesn't appear to be out yet, but I have my eyes on this one. I definitely have my eyes on this game. This looks like right up my alley of something I'd really enjoy playing. But what caught my eye even more, and the first topic of discussion I want to have, is top navigation bars. And all of their subsites do this. The two that do it the most noticeably and the best, at least among the ones I've looked at, was the one for Tekken and the one for Dragon Ball, where there's like that black bar at the top that says Bandai Namco, and then there's like the subsite menu, and it like goes away depending if you scroll down or up. I've been very, very interested in those things in particular lately. And I still have this open. It was one of the things I talked about on the Assassin's Creed Shadows website, which overall is a website that I like quite a lot. One comment I had about the site was that when you scroll down, when their black bar goes away, it appears to actually shift the page content, and that made the like scroll feel a little bit off to me. Just not quite right. Especially on some mobile devices, like on my iOS devices, it felt perfectly fine. On my Android devices, it felt a little bit worse. It feels okay on my MacBook, but on my like Chromebook, it felt a lot more janky. And on some devices, it even resulted where the black bar would come up when it really shouldn't, and like there were some buttons on mobile, like the bottom most button that was inaccessible, and that kind of got me thinking about this kind of element. So earlier today, I decided to code my own little thing that I put into a code pen, and I have that right here, where I guess I can refresh this, where it starts with the main site nav content kind of as the top bar, and in a slightly different shade of gray, there's the sub-site nav content. And when you scroll down, the top bar goes away, and when you scroll up, the top bar comes back. Um, One comment that I had just kind of as a suggestion for this kind of element on this website was to make the threshold more than 1 pixel. Because like if you like scroll down and then you scroll up literally 1 pixel, it comes back, and you scroll down literally 1 pixel, it goes away. And it appears these sites largely do the same thing too, where 1 pixel it comes back, 1 pixel it goes away. Um, this is highly opinionated, so it's far from being any kind of an established standard or anything like that. I'm of the opinion it feels better when it's more than 1 pixel. So I wanted to come up with a way, kind of my own, to make it that way. Um, so I made a script that I even like directly comment was largely based off of the MDN's own documentation on setting up an add event listener for scroll and using request animation for him to get better performance out of it, for when you're to detect when you're actually scrolling or not. And then there's like a do something function where you do stuff there. I used that as a template to build my own script that does a bunch of stuff, all inside of this function here. Basically, this does two things. I came up with a way to detect when you're scrolling down, as you might be able to see in the console logs being put out. Detect down, detect down, detect down, but then detect up when you're going up. But I didn't want it to just be by 1 pixel, because having it just be by 1 pixel was actually the easy part. So the way I decided to go about doing this was to set a threshold. So I have a variable um, at the top, called threshold, and that's the amount of pixels you have to go either up or down for it to count as detecting as an up scroll or a down scroll. So in this case, I have it set to 20. So if you were to scroll up 19 pixels, that wouldn't count as detecting as an up scroll quite yet. That wouldn't be quite enough. But if you scroll up one more pixel, then it would. So you would even be able to like pause, where like I'm going up a little bit, and you see the detect up didn't happen until it hit 20. And same here, I went down by 15, but it's gonna take a little bit more. To me, that feels a little bit nicer. That's highly opinionated, but I like that more. And the other reason I suggested this was that on some devices, like if you like, especially mobile devices, where if you like scroll down all the way to the bottom, there can be a little bit of snapback, and this kind of an effect can help prevent that kind of thing too, in cases where that might be detected as scrolling. I kind of arbitrarily set 20 pixels here. You could set this to anything you want. Like if I change this to 100, that's going to work exactly the same. Where now I'm going to need to get to 100 for it to count, and same for scrolling up. There is more that could be done in my script. Like I could and probably should account for if you're at the very top, both of them should always exist. If you're at the very bottom, it shouldn't exist. I think I have a little bit of a bug. If you scroll too fast, as well, that might need to get worked out. But overall, this is kind of the vibe I was going for, and I have a GitHub page for this as well. that I put here in case anybody wants to use this script. I did not opt to add any kind of a license to it, so just use it. I don't care about attribution or anything like that. But that was kind of my thought with that. I don't know if I have a wider point behind that, other than it's opinionated. And there's a few opinions that went into this that I did want to go over and explain why exactly I have those opinions. First, in the Assassin's Creed website anyway, it shifts the page content. And there could be benefits to this because you could have a web page designed in such a way where if it doesn't shift the page content, then it'll actually cover up the page content. So there could be advantages and there could be reasons why you might want to have it do this. In my opinion, the negatives outweigh the benefits, and web pages that have these kind of elements should be designed in such a way for top content not to be covered. And that's my first opinion. Don't make the top bar coming in and out actively shift page content. And that's a pattern I follow. I'm going to set this back to something less tiny than 100 pixels. So, and that's a pattern I follow here, where when it comes away, it doesn't affect the content, but I also design the page in such a way to where it won't. And the way I chose to go about that in SCSS, and this is completely different from my JavaScript I wrote. This is just kind of some CSS I tossed together, just kind of as kind of a way of doing this is I use root to kind of create essentially a variable in CSS to have a height and offset amount of 50 pixels, and that's how tall each of these bars are. And with this, I can also do some math for setting the offset values. Like down here, I set the upper bar when it's not active to be the negative value of 50. So if you use calc in CSS and multiply it by -1, that's how you get the negative value of the like positive value you might have. And I'm using that to, so like right now it's in an active state, so the top is going to be 0. And I'm using that to make the top exactly the negative value of whatever I have set here. And I use this again a little bit later. Yeah, again, like when determining the height, and also when determining the the top value of when main nav has the shifted down class, which in this case is what I chose to name it, just because that's what I decided to name it. In the script I have in my GitHub, it's a bit more neutral. I don't go into naming anything specific. I did that just because this is the markup I wrote up here. But when the main nav is shifted down, that's where I have the top set to that 50 pixels. And I also have another element in the HTML where essentially I added like a padding section. And I guess this could be kind of the equivalent of like what you would see in WordPress, where you have like a padding section or like a padding block you can add. It could probably be built a little bit better than this, but I only made this for demonstration purposes. But that's also how I decided how big this should be. And in this case, I decided to make it twice as big as that, so that when you're at the top and both of them are there, it's going to account for the height of both of them. That's my opinionated way of how I went about this, with the assumption that the upper top bar and the navigation bar are exactly the same height, and simply multiplying the preset value by 2 is going to be a solution to coming up with the right amount of padding. But basically, I did that because these are position fixed and are thus outside the main flow of the HTML content. And this adds enough padding on top that the H tag up there when the content actually starts is visible. Because if I get rid of this, then as you can see, everything gets shifted up and gets hidden. And this is what I mean, in my opinion, too. But also be careful about it covering up content at the top of the page when it appears. This is where it gets into opinion territory. Do you make it shift content down to avoid this from happening, or do you design your page's top content around the assumption that this will happen? My opinion is that the latter is better. And this is kind of my method of accounting for that, where if there's going to be content that is a certain height, you can add padding that's based off of the height that's going to be. Either um, I guess in a slightly less ideal situation, you could just hard code a value. In this case, I derived it off of a value that is also being used to establish the height and sizes of the elements that it's essentially offsetting with its padding. And I feel that that's the better approach. You could probably go even further if you get some JavaScript involved to detect the heights, which is probably what they're doing here on the Tekken site, because these do not look the same height to me. I think that the height of the upper bar is a little bit larger than the height of the smaller one. And same for the Assassin's Creed one, where the height of the main navigation of like the subsite is obviously larger than the parent site navigation. So a more thorough approach of doing this may be to detect with JavaScript the height of each one and use those to account for the values of what these things should be, of what like the padding should be, if you're going to go this approach. That's at least my opinionated opinion on that topic. I was just kind of interested to dig a little bit deeper and code a little bit deeper into this particular thing, and this is the kind of conclusion and solution I came up to, for if you want to build something like this. That at least this would be some kind of a starting point to base something like what this site is doing off of. So with that said, I'm going to close the Assassin's Creed site because I've already spent 2 entire live streams talking about it. Overall, I think it's a great website. The devs did a good job on it. Overall, I'm actually seeing decent reviews of the game too. So kudos to the devs of the game. If I find the time to play it, I probably will. I still haven't completed the VR Assassin's Creed game yet. I'm one of those people that'll like start a game and get like halfway through it, and then like start another game at that point and not get around to finishing it. And I actually still haven't gotten around to Assassin's Creed Black Flag, the one where you get to play as a pirate. And I've always kind of wanted to play that. I recently picked that up on a PS3 on eBay, and I actually want to play that too. But the overall aesthetic and feel of Shadows looks very interesting to me. So I definitely have that on my playlist. I'm probably going to pick it up at some point when it's on sale down the road, when I actually have time to play it after I get through my current backlog. But yeah, that's neither here nor there. I guess with that said, I'm going to close out everything with the like scroll in and out navigation. Once again, you can feel free to use this code pen and or use the GitHub link to your heart's content. Don't bother attributing me or anything. I don't care about that kind of stuff. Just use the code if you think it's useful as a starting point. I want to start looking at these sites. I am very interested to start looking at these sites and just kind of seeing what's going on here. I'm going to move myself a little bit again. All right, so I guess for the first one, I guess I could start by looking at their homepage. The first thing I notice is that their hero is a slider, which looks beautiful. It looks extremely beautiful, and I very much appreciate that hovering over it pauses it. I am a strong believer that if you have a carousel as a hero component, that hovering over it should pause it, because that's going to allow you to actually access the content. You would be surprised how many carousels don't think about that. But what I'm actually a little more curious about is how a screen reader is going to read it. Right now, I have my MacBook Air right here, so I guess I'll just jump right into the screen reader segment at least a little bit, and see how it goes through the top navigation, see how it goes through all the other stuff. I am yet to have tested this site with a screen reader, so I am about to find out what's going to happen. And if I recall, Command F5 is the command.
Welcome to VoiceOver. VoiceOver speaks descriptions of items on the screen.
Then the VO
VoiceOver
keys,
on Chrome.
control and option.
Home. Official website. New tab. Search tab. Toolbar. Home. Official website.
Then hold down
Vertical line.
shift
In.
to go in
Home.
the site.
Official website. Vertical line. Official site. Web navigation. You are currently on a link. Link. News. Link. Games. You are current link. Link. Game.
All right, so I noticed that clicking on that appears to be going to the actual top level games page.
You are currently on a link inside of web content.
Whereas
to click this link, press Control.
Whereas
Option,
I do believe if you
space,
hover,
to
this
exit this
is
web
actually
area.
a drop down.
Link. https://
I am curious. Is this drop down?
Link. Navigate. Link. Games. You are currently on a link. In link. Game. Games. Out of link.
Because yeah, that's not necessarily the behavior I would have expected, but I may get back to that in a second because I am still curious about this slider.
Navigation. Button. Group. You are currently end of button. Group.
Also, I do wish that they would have ARIA labeled that button to specify that it's a search.
Enter your search edit text.
Once you actually enter the search, this is excellent. If anything, this is what I expected to happen when I clicked on games with my screen reader.
Enter your group and one cookies button. Cookie group and view all results button. Out of home. Navigate link end of button group. You are out of home. Official toolbar home. Official website vertical line of navigate end of navigate button group. You are current in button group. Out of button group.
Can I close that with a
You are currently on a button home. Official website in home.
How do I close this?
Home.
Did I get myself into a position where I can't close that?
Web content.
Without like blinking? I don't know, probably not a big deal. Honestly, it's probably not a big
the
deal.
web area. Home.
All of the content was perfectly accessible.
Home. Toolbar item. Home. In. Home.
Anyway, back in the website.
End button. Group. You button.
Yeah, like the fact that both of these just say button group is a bit of an issue.
You are
this should probably say like button search, and that might say like button profile or something. I don't have an account on Bandai Namco, but I would imagine that that's the link to visit your profile or ask if you like want to log in or something.
Option Shift up arrow group.
Anyway, now that that's done,
you are currently on a main inside of web content.
Okay, positive. A very positive thing. The slider has paused.
Group. You button. Group main.
Or wait, is it just pausing because my mouse is there? Hold on, I'm going to move my mouse away.
Content. Pre-order, learn more. Pre-order now. And 2 more. Main. Group. Main. Pre-order now. Button. You are currently on a button.
Okay, so here's a common issue that comes with full screen hero sliders a lot.
Consume more. Button. You are currently
is that they don't account for when a screen reader is on it, and I've noticed this in the past on Epic's game store because at least as of a few years ago their website was designed in a similar way where they had a slider or a slider carousel as their hero, which is perfectly fine. I'm not against the usage of such a thing as a hero. In this case, I think it looks great, but the way that it pauses when your mouse hovers over it is also what should happen when you're focused on any inner element of it, with a screen reader or otherwise. Because what happens if not? And I'm gonna just mouse back to the first one and hold my mouse over it so I can keep it in place and demonstrate.
Pre-order and 2 more. Pre-order now button.
Because like, let's say that I'm on pre-order now, but
this button, press Control Option Space.
Then I move my mouse out of the way. Yep, you see it's still going. It's still going. It's going to go to the next one, but my thing is still going to be on pre-order now. So now it's like
learn more button.
Learn more about what?
On a button to click this button.
Which slide am I learning more about exactly? And then it's going to go on to the next one, and like I'm interested in that Shadow Labyrinth game.
Button.
So
You
it's
are
consume
currently
more
on a
of what?
button.
Like,
To
obviously,
click
I
this
know it's
button,
Shadow Labyrinth.
Pre-order now.
And I
button.
click again,
Learn
and now
more.
I'm on these
Pre-order
two,
now
so I'm on
button.
pre-order now.
You are
And it's already
currently on a
back to
button.
the Elden
To
Ring
click
one.
the Learn More button. Pre-order Learn More. Pre-order now. Learn More button.
I guess
You
too,
are currently on a
the credit is that if you go through it fast enough, it does appear to
end of group main pre-order learn more
at least
consume more
sometimes
button,
move the
pre-order
slider
now
along,
button, and 2 more consume more
but it's
pre-order and 2 more
inconsistent.
consume pre-order learn more
I don't know if
pre-order
that
and
was
2 more
something done on
consume and 1
purpose.
more learn more button. You are currently on
So
a
I would
button.
say
To
this
click this
carousel
button,
slider
press
is
Control,
beautiful and
Option,
fantastic
space.
from the context of using it with a mouse. Not everybody can use it with a mouse. I'm going to turn off voiceover. Command F5.
Voiceover off.
And therein lies the issue with the implementation of a lot of these. Not the idea, the concept, or the design. All of that is perfectly fine as it is. The implementation. You need to be able to account for people that cannot use mice or trackpad, which will come up in your career as a developer. In many cases, this is something that is overlooked because it's a very small minority of people. But in my years of development, I have specifically had the requests come along to have the sites be keyboard navigable from start to finish. And that's the approach I would take here too. The functionality that is pausing the slider as soon as you hover over it, which is great and fantastic. I absolutely love that is how that works. That exact function should get triggered as soon as soon as anything inside the element is hovered over, or rather focused over. So like how I'm like focused over the pre-order and learn more, I'm focusing over either of those, or like focusing the consume more should have the same effect as hovering over the carousel as well. And that would make it and that would make this fully accessible. That would be my approach at least. Like it like the simply for the fact that it's auto moving. I suppose the alternative would be to not make it auto move and have the user rely on the previous and next buttons, which should either be fully ignored or focusable, depending on the approach that would get accounted for here. But in any case, that's what I would do here: is make it so when you're focused on a button that's inside the carousel on either of these slides or on any of these slides, is that you hook it up to the same functionality that is responsible for pausing the slides. And that's going to make this 1,000 times more accessible. And there will be users who will greatly appreciate that. Everybody with carpal tunnel that relies on keyboards will appreciate you. Everybody with vision impairments who rely on screen readers will thank you for it. And people like that do play video games too. So while they are a minority, it is a thing that matters. And that's why I always like to point it out, even in the context and inside of sites and elements that I greatly appreciate, such as this. So yeah, that's kind of my comment there. That's my little piece of advice for how this can be made a bit more accessible. And man, I really am interested in this game. I'm very, very curious for how this game is going to turn out. Like, Shadow Labyrinth might be one of those games I end up getting regardless of the reviews, just because from an artistic and creativity perspective, I think it looks that cool. Just like the idea of like a dark themed Pac-Man inspired Metroidvania, and I love Metroid games. Like those are some of my favorite games ever. I absolutely adored Metroid Dread. If this turns out anything like that, I might even get it new. With that said, let's see. Was there anything else I wanted to cover with any accessibility or screen reader things? I guess I could just go down the rest of the page with my screen reader and see what happens. Command F5.
Welcome to VoiceOver.
Use VoiceOver.
VoiceOver on Chrome. Pre-learn net prep heading artic fist meet heading end of Fist meets fate. Heading level 1. Art and group
I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself here.
Main. Pre-order. Learn more. Consume more. Pre-order now. Learn more. Next. Prep. Group. Heading level 1. Feed article. You are currently in an article. Fist meets fate logo. Image. You are currently on heading level 1. Fist meets fate. You are heading level. Fist meets fate logo. Image. You are currently on an image.
It is interesting how it appears that the alt text
Press
is
Control,
Fist meets
Shift,
fate instead
down
of
arrow.
Tekken 8, which is not wrong. There aren't, as far as I'm aware of, any hard or fast rules of what alt text needs to be, and I appreciate there is alt text. It's just kind of funny to me that it uses the game's subtitle as the alt text for its primary logo.
Heading level 1. Fist meets fate.
Also,
You are
should that be an
currently on
H1?
Fist meet and Tomb Group. You are currently
What's
on a
featured
group.
games?
Heading level 1. Featured games.
Yeah, they use
You are
H1s.
currently on a heading level art. Fist heading level 1. Fist
This is
meets
getting a
fate.
bit pedantic
You are
because this
currently
gets
on
into the
heading level
territory of
1.
where things matter and don't, but this should be an H2. I mean, like, if we're going to strictly follow the rules as strictly as possible, it goes H1, then H2, then H3, and whatever. Given that this is a sub title, essentially, that's a child of featured games, because this is one of the featured games, I would argue this would ideally be an H2. Very minor complaint. It's not something that really matters, as much as it's something that I just wanted to point out just for the sake of pointing it out. It would technically be better markup practices if these white H tags were H2s in here.
End of. Fist buy now. But learn more. Article.
But yeah, perfectly
You are
accessible. I'm
currently
not seeing anything wrong with it in
heading
terms of
level
that.
of. Available now. Learn more. But end of. Article. Heading level. Break the heavens. Logo. Image. You are heading level. Break the heavens. Logo. Heading level 1. End of. Available now. Learn more. Button. Article. The remastered Return of the Fated Battle. Logo. Image. Heading level 1. The end of. Pre-order now. Learn more. Button. You are currently on a button. To click article. Time. Heading. End of. Wishlist. Learn more. Button. Heading level 1. Featured news. View all recent news. Link. Standalone adventure game Elden Ring Nitron launches. Link. Anna Williams with link. Bandai Namco reveals a thrilling sci-fi take on
Okay,
Pac-Man and its larger
these are
arcade
pretty good.
link.
I
Embark on a
like
classic
these with the screen
heading
reader.
level 1. Exclusive offers. You are link. Elden Ring Nitron Collector's Edition. Elden Ring Nitron Collector's Edition promotion. Elden Ring Nitron Collector's Edition. The Elden Ring Nitron Collector's Edition includes base game, additional DLC star, statue of Wilder, steelbook registered sign, Nightfarer cards, exclusive hardcover art book, digital soundtrack download code, and collector's box. Shop now. You are link. Shadow Labyrinth. Collector's Edition promotion. Shadow Labyrinth. Collector's Edition. The Collector's Edition includes.
All right, pretty
base
standard. Just
game,
reads out the
collector's
content
box,
to you and
shadow box,
specifies it's a
digital
link at the
deluxe
end.
content, digital art book and digital soundtrack, enamel pin set, double-sided map / poster, blacklight keychain, link, Elden heading level 2, more fun for everyone. You are heading level enter sign recaptcha, recap I'm not a link, end of by joining link, and link, period, by join end of main. You group, period.
Hold on.
You are currently on a text element.
I'm a little bit confused that it didn't then go into the footer content.
By joining our end of main. Heading level 1, games.
Oh wait, it does
You are currently on
here,
a main,
so like
inside of web content group, period. You are currently on a text
So for some
element.
reason the screen reader goes back up to the top,
Heading level 1, games.
and then it
You
goes
are
into the
link,
footer
PC.
content, which
You are currently on a link. inside
all right.
web
I mean, that's
content.
like a
To
minor
click this
issue.
link, press
I would get to
Control,
that whenever I had
Option,
nothing else
space.
going on
To exit this
to
web
fix
area,
that. I wouldn't
Control,
consider
Option,
that like
Shift, up arrow.
a big accessibility issue, given it's not like blocking off content or anything like
Link,
that.
Xbox Series link, mobile link, PlayStation Red link, Nintendo Switch trip link, deals, browse all get heading level link, press link, select a heading level 1 link, at Bandai Namco US. Link, capital BANDAI, capital NAMCO, capital ENTERTAINM.
I like how the screen reader just reads out the
ANERIC.
letters.
You are currently on a link, link, at Bandai Namco, Bandai Namco Entertainment America. You are currently link image Bandai link Bandai Namco us link at Bandai.
All right, so
Namco us.
there's technically nothing wrong with any of these, but I would specify that they're like the social platforms that they are. Like in this case, I would specify Twitter X, I would specify YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, etc.
Link Bandai Namco Entertainment America. You are currently
just
on a link
something
inside
else
of
I would
web
add that would
content.
make the site a
Click
little
this
bit
link.
easier
Press
to use
Control,
for people who
Option,
rely on
space,
screen readers.
Link, image, legal and community link, terms of link, privacy link, community events link, legal / link, community events / link, copyright sign end of ESRB rate open button, cookies but end.
All right, given that's the end of the page,
Community events /
I guess I have no real strong comments on the main Bandai Namco homepage. Beyond the stuff I already mentioned with the hero carousel slider. I think this is a very good site so far. I am interested in what community events are, like not like from any kind of a coding perspective, but like what kind of community events does Bandai Namco run, and can I attend any of them?
Link, legal / link, link,
Alright, so it looks like this is where they got like sweepstakes and stuff like that. Alright,
official rules.
Nothing that interests me personally.
Currently on a button. To click this button, press Control button and link games. You are currently on a link.
Alright, so I guess I'm gonna go to games. I do wish
Open preferences button.
That the click on that would have opened the drop down instead of opened the top level link, but that can get complicated.
Featured games link.
That can get complicated on sites where your drop down is also a top level link. That is actually kind of a complicated problem to solve.
Group all genres, all platforms button. Group all platforms in tech end of text out of text out of all heading link nitron link shadow.
Right, so I guess I could start by looking at the Tekken 8 page, which is one of the ones I wanted to look at. I'll just click into that right here.
You are currently on a link inside of web.
All right, so here I am for Tekken 8.
Press Control link.
Excellently reviewed game, apparently. I've never been a big fighting game fan. Apparently, this is one of the really good ones.
Button group button group.
I usually just watch streamers I like play this game. Like
inside of web content.
I don't really play these kind of games myself.
Option space to exit this web area. Press Control Option Shift up arrow. Group. You are
All right, now to get into the main site content here.
Main. You are currently on cover video, empty group. You are current buy now button. Watch trailer button. You are buy now button. You are currently
my
on a button.
only criticism here, and this is only assuming that Tekken 8 logo is its own thing, and even if it's not, I might have made the image focusable anyway and just said Tekken 8.
Cover video, empty group.
Like kind of where it says cover video right there, I might have said cover video for Tekken 8. And that would have made it more specific in case just to make it more specific about what exactly it is that's being viewed by the screen reader user.
Buy now button. Watch trailer button.
Beyond that, I think this looks excellent. Like as a hero goes, the artwork is like chef's kiss phenomenal, and is implemented very well. Insofar as I can tell. Like I might check file sizes later, but at least at first glance, this looks like something that's extremely well implemented.
Visit the official Tekken 8 website. Visit the official site button.
You know, I might
currently on a button. To click this button, press Control Option.
I might open that in a new tab just to get to
14 items. Closing menu. Selected. Closing menu.
Or I don't know. I'll get to that later.
You are currently on a selectable text.
You know what the heck? I'll go to it now. What's different about the Tekken 8 site versus this? It looks like they're using the exact same background.
Bandai Namco.com/link HTTPS nav link shop.
Okay, actually, I think this is fundamentally the same site. So, like,
Press Control.
essentially, I think that there's a
Space.
parent site with a lot of subsites, and regardless of URL, I think this is another subsite of these sites, and simply because it works so similarly.
/ W nav link end button group button.
Yeah,
group,
definitely these should be labeled
group,
by what
button,
social network that they are.
Buy now button group main. You cover video Tekken 8 logo image.
Okay, yeah, that's kind of what I was talking about. Like the Tekken 8 logo should just say that, and then there's even the subtitle and buy now.
Platforms image. You are currently on and one more item. Next platforms buy now platforms image.
Yeah, so
On an image.
I guess another example where the alt text is there, I guess it works. I would specify platforms PS5, Xbox, and Steam. If I were to be as specific as possible with that.
And one more item. Next. Prep null image. Cover video null image.
Null image. I don't know if I've ever seen that before. I might want to look at the code to see why that's happening.
Next. You are
but I did also want to test a little bit with this slider, just by like
next platform and one more item. Next. You prep. Next. You are currently
by clicking on next. All right, so that doesn't seem to do anything. Can I dig into that by pressing shift and down?
Text. Next. Main. You cover video platform and one more. Next.
That's kind of interesting that this button doesn't seem to be clickable as it stands.
Prep. You are next. You are currently on a selectable text.
Because yeah, it says it's selectable text and not a button. So that makes me wonder why exactly this is not working.
Voiceover off.
All right, looks like it's taking it a second to want to load the dev tools fully here. Or wait, hold on. I was using my streaming mouse when I should have been using my stream computer mouse. Let's take a look at this button. So yeah, as I thought, not a button. It looks like there might be JavaScript to kind of make it like a button, which is something I have covered in previous streams. This might be fixable simply by doing roll button. I want to see if that's going to do the trick. Maybe. If this is the right div, I don't know if the one most indented or maybe. Yeah, I think this is not quite the right div. Or maybe it is. No, I think this is it. I'm gonna try adding roll equals button button. And I guess for good measure, why not add a tab index on too? I don't know why. And let's see. I'm also going to add an area label so that when the screen reader gets here, it'll have an idea of what this basically is. Oh, I'm having some typing troubles today. Area label. Oh, come on. User error. I meant to say next button. All right. So this might not fix it. I don't know what's going to happen, but I at least want to see what these various code changes might do.
Welcome to VoiceOver.
After that, I'm probably going to go back to the Tekken site I was on before, but I'm just curious what's going to happen
Voiceover on
here.
Chrome.
just because this is a different
Vertical
kind
line
of
Bandai
slider.
Namco Elden Ring Tekken 8 in by now platform and one next button group.
Okay, that actually made it work. So I guess that's kind of a similar concept to what I was talking about in one of my last streams, where if you decide to make something act like a button that's really just a div, that's not necessarily a bad thing. There is markup that's intended to accommodate for that kind of thing, that being roll button, as well as adding an ARIA label. I actually came across that issue on the I'd like to say that was the Assassin's Creed Shadow website, perhaps. Yeah, I think it was that one where I had come across that exact issue where they used a div for like the main hamburger menu where it should have been a button, um, or the additional markup to the div to make it act more like a button to accessibility tools should have been added. That's very important. If you're using a not button to be a button, that's not necessarily a bad thing. There are reasons to do that in some cases. So I'm not saying the developers of this site did anything wrong by doing that. I don't think so. But if you do that, it is imperative that you add roll button to it, as well as tab index, so that normal keyboard users can get to it, and an area label so that there's context that the button is an X button or is a whatever kind of button it is. And that was what I needed to do to allow this slider to work on screen readers. So I guess if you do have a slider that heavily relies on buttons that are actually divs, just make sure that the markup goes the extra mile and is all the way to what it needs to be to effectively actually be a button as far as assistive technologies are concerned, and not just as far as a mouse is concerned. Because as is always the case, a mouse is not the only way that people use websites, and or tapping on a phone. That's the way the majority of people use websites, but not everybody. And when possible, when time and budget allows, everybody, and arguably even when those things are tight, everybody should be accounted for. That is the kind of nice thing to do. And that would be my suggestion for how to improve this slider as well. All right, so that will be all of my slider talk for this stream. All of the talking I have to do in terms of sliders and stuff of that nature.
Prep, null, cover video test, empty group, 9's the king of link.
Yeah, I guess I just wanted to go through this and then look at that video and
Prep,
see why it says
Jin Kazuma,
null.
image. Kazuha, fist, Kazuha, Jin, group, prep. Next. Prep, Jin Kazuma, image. You are currently on.
Yeah, and then this looks to be the exact same slider as up here, so I'm going to guess the exact same things I just said apply.
After Jin, learn more. Jin is after defeating his father. He had after defeat Jin is forced learn more. Jin is after fist Jin learn new game new modes. Jin is after defeating fist meet after defeating
I am a little curious why it's reading that twice. Is it maybe there's different text for mobile that's not properly being hidden from screen readers?
To wage war on Jin is learn more.
I don't know. That's my theory up front. I'm going to look into that in just a second when I'm done screen reading this site.
Tekken Ball. Customization image group. Tekken image group. Super Ghost Battle Mode. You are currently on
element is this? How does this work? All right, so it looks like this is kind of another example of like a slider.
Image group. Image. Super Ghost Battle. Tekken Ball. Customize my replay. Tekken Ball. Image group. My replay. Tekken Ball. Image group. My image. You are current. Group. Customization.
All right, it looks like we're coming across buttons that aren't really buttons again. Let's see, is there anything else I'm really going to be interested in looking at on my screen reader here? All right, I think I've done enough screen reader stuff here to be able to comment on a few more things and look at a bit more code. Because yeah, I think we've come across another situation where a button isn't really a button. So like if you click them, they act like buttons, where a button being a thing that does something when you click it, as opposed to a link that takes you somewhere where you click it. These do something when you click it. So effectively they're buttons. Even if they're not coded as literally being a button element, that's what they are. Um, I guess I'm curious, is adding roll button going to fix this issue? And it looks like down here, these are intended to be buttons too. So like whatever functionality is applying to these is applying to these. I'm just gonna do it to this second one right here and see what happens.
Welcome to VoiceOver. VoiceOver speaks descriptions of items on the screen and can be used to control the computer. Welcome to VoiceOver.
Voice techniques Tekken in links new game new mo get enter arcade quit Tekken Fight Lounge
Yep.
image you super image Tekken Fight Lounge.
That's really all it is.
Group.
This could be easily fixed by just using roll equals button to effectively turn this into a button, even though it's not. And that's what makes using non-button HTML as buttons more acceptable and accessible. A very small code change that could make a very big difference to a lot of you. I'll turn VoiceOver off again. I think the only other thing I was curious about on this particular web page was why this video was saying null. Or wait, is this an iframe? Oh, it's an iframe. You know what? Iframes are so complicated, who even knows what's going on with that? I'm not always the biggest fan of iframes. I mean, it is what it is, but it looks like every video is an iframe, so I guess that's what it is. In any case, I'm going to go back to, well, actually, before I go back, I am a little bit curious. I always like doing network tab and hard refresh and then sorting by size just to see what happens. All right, yeah, we do got some pretty big files loading in here. The fact that this uses so many iframes might mess with that a little bit. But yeah, having I don't know, it's not the end of the world to have files that big loading in, but that's definitely pretty hefty. Yeah, and I'm guessing this is a video coming from a CDN. Just from studying the request URL. All right, I guess that's what I wanted to look at ultimately. Beautiful website, amazing animations. Nothing feels terribly overwhelming to me here. There are auto-playing videos, but nothing that is, in my opinion, being too much. Let's go back to the Tekken 8 site that was a child of the Bandai Namco site directly. Which is kind of funny because it could be considered both of these being official sites. I'm sure the information is very similar on both of these. Does this take the same approach of using iframes for videos? Is that just what they do to grab their videos from their CDNs? Yeah. All right. I mean, I guess if it works, it works. I'm just kind of studying the structure of this and seeing if I could find where the actual video file. Here it is. Oh, it's because it plays directly from Vimeo. Let's see, are the permissions on the video set in such a way to where I can view this? And I'm gonna mute my audio. Yeah, it looks like the permissions are set in a way where the video can't be viewed outside of this context. Um, and I guess that makes me a little curious about the network tab here too. Yeah, so it does look like there's some pretty big things loading on in this site. I mean, and usually when there's assets as big as this, it's videos. Um, at least they're being spread across a few of them from the looks of it. Um, and the top hero section does not appear to be that way, which I greatly appreciate for very many reasons. For one, because actual like full scale videos that are like a lot of stuff going on can be very overwhelming to me. Whereas this is something I consider to still be really cool. Like it has that wow factor to me, just in terms of loading up a web page and seeing this. And it has kind of the effect of a video, but without literally being like a massive video overwhelming my brain. So I can still concentrate on all of this content that they really want me to see, and the call to action right here. So I love this hero. Um, in general, these heroes and just their approach to doing heroes in that way is something I really appreciate. I am a little bit curious about this slider. Um, Instead of going into a screen reader, I'm just going to take a look. Are these buttons actually buttons, or are they divs? Yeah, so that's going to have the exact same issue where a screen reader is not going to see that as a button. And it's not going to work. More likely than not. I did like this. I remember playing around with this just from like a UI perspective, where it's talking about like the expansion that came out, Shadow of the Erd Tree, and and then like it kind of helps the user out in terms of what they should buy. So like in my case, Elden Ring is not a game that I happen to own. I've played other From Software games. I have the Dark Souls trilogy I'm still going through. I haven't quite finished that yet. I'm probably going to get around to Elden Ring when I finish those. Um, but I like this a lot conceptually, especially for products that can be a bit complicated and might be multifaceted. This can help interested consumers in figuring out exactly what it is that they want to buy, or that they should buy, and help them feel like they're getting their money's worth. And I think that's a really good idea. So like in this case, if you already own Elden Ring, it's going to show you the various tiers of what they have to offer for the Shadow of the Erd Tree expansion specifically. Which in this case is what you would likely be interested in if you have Elden Ring already and have played it. But in a situation like mine where I haven't, I might be interested. All right, so I could just buy the base original game, or I could buy the version that comes with both of them, or there's another version that comes with both of them and a couple of extra things. And I just think this is a really clean and nice way of communicating information. So I am interested because, like, I guess ideally I would just buy the base game of both of them. I'm not really going to buy it right now. I'm just going to see what happens. PS5 would probably be my platform of choice. Okay, and I guess in this case it just links you out. I'm guessing in a new tab to whatever store has that. All right, and that makes it pretty clear. And let's see, I'm guessing if it's Amazon, it's going to be like it might have physical options. I don't. It might have physical options. Huh. Looks like GameStop took down whatever page that was. I guess FYI, if any Elden Ring website developers happen to see this stream or VOD or any of my clips that might or might not contain this if I decide to turn it into a clip. GameStop took down whatever page that this used to be, so just FYI, not a problem with this site. That's a GameStop thing, but it is still a link I'd replace with an updated link whenever you might have the opportunity to do so. Yeah, and then there's a new Elden Ring game coming out pretty soon too. That's still on pre-order. Yeah, but then that Shadow Labyrinth game, and like of the games, this is the one that interests me the most. I am so curious for how this one's going to turn out. I really hope this game turns out to be like really like super duper awesome. And yeah, just the overall design is just cool for all of these web pages. I especially like this one. I love the colors. So pretty. All right, and I guess that mostly wraps up what I was going to look at from like a desktop perspective. Um, as I mentioned, I was probably going to do a little bit of a shorter stream tonight anyway, so I'm not sure how much longer I'm going to go on. But I did want to take a look just because I usually do at responsive design as well. So I'll go back to the base Bandai Namco site, and actually even better because I have these right next to me hooked up and everything. I'll just show my physical phones. Here's my iPhone, and here's my Android phone. So I guess we'll just start by going through the iPhone, which my cable connecting this to my PC is a little bit short, but this is an actual real iPhone. If I can, yeah, you can kind of see it right there. This is actually a real iPhone. Whenever I pull up a screen like that, I'm using real hardware. I tend to prefer that over um, over emulated hardware, or I guess like emulated devices inside browsers. Yep, and I guess kind of as expected, I have no real big thoughts on any of this. Everything seems pretty straightforward to me. I might keep these buttons in place. It is a little like it is a little confusing that like the slider changes height, and then the button must be set to be like some kind of a percentage, whether that be like halfway in or not, or like slightly below halfway in. I would probably opt to keep the buttons the same as they are. It's a little bit inconvenient to me to have to like wait for it to finish moving and then figure out where it is and move my finger over there. It's just a little bit of extra effort that I kind of wish I didn't need to do. Not a huge issue, but just one thought that comes to mind regarding that. I guess we'll go to the page for Tekken 8 again. Accept all cookies. I do think I noticed a little bit of a loading screen there. That was pretty sweet. Okay, the slider's a little bit weird, where the threshold for when it's going to snap to the next slide is kind of far. I think it waits for more than 50%. Is what that feels like. Where like, because like I feel like I'm pushing this with like a lot of force on my iPhone SE, and it's still snapping back to that first slider, but I kind of have to do it more slowly and meticulously. I would say just from a usability perspective, that might be something to consider. I'm going to test this on my much larger Android Galaxy A14. So let's see. I'll go to the Bandai Namco homepage. I keep on refreshing because it just takes a second for the content to load. Yeah, and same thing with the buttons here. But anyway, let's go to the Tekken 8 page. And yep, yeah, peak loading screen. Absolutely top quality loading screen. Like, to have a touch that's that nice looking for something that only shows up for like a split second is like actually awesome. Like, honestly, a little bit later, right after I'm done with this, I'm gonna purposefully throttle my connection in the dev tools and hard refresh just so I can look at that loading screen a bit longer because that's so gosh darn beautiful. So like whoever's idea it was to add that Tekken 8 loading screen on the Tekken 8 landing page like this, um, awesome. Anyway, I was looking at this slider, and yeah, if anything, the issue is even more pronounced on the bigger screen, where like I like almost can't move the slider at all with like one hand. I don't know how to show my thumb exactly, um, but like I move my thumb all the way across the screen, and even that's not enough unless I do it slower. So like the trick to moving the slider is to do it slower. Whereas I feel like the threshold for when it should snap to the other slide should not be quite that much, in my opinion. And that's my opinion across testing two devices. Um, Again, just an opinion. It isn't necessarily anything that's been done wrong on the site, but from purely a usability perspective, that's how I feel about that element. Um, it is interesting that it did bring me to like the normal Tekken8.com instead of the other Tekken 8 that you might get to if you were to go to games and do Tekken 8 here. Because this, I'm pretty sure, brings you. Oh, nope, that's bringing me to Tekken.com too. So how did I get to that other site, the like other Tekken site that I was on? The one that's Bandai Namco Games Tekken 8. How do I access that website exactly? Now that I really think about it. And in any situation, whoever does work on this landing page, ask if you can copy that loading screen, because that loading screen is really, 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 really cool. Um, I kind of feel like ending stream early today. I started late, so I'm going to end early, but I did want to stream today just in general. So I'm going to hide my mobile devices, but what I am going to do is go to that Tekken.com site, which apparently I can get to that way. Um, and I'm going to purposefully network throttle my connection simply so that loading screen takes longer so I can look at it more. Um, Throttling down to, I don't know, is 3G going to be slow enough so that it shows up for a little bit longer? I just want to see that loading screen. Like the idea that it's the Tekken 8 logo and it fills in. I just want to take another look at that because it's so pretty. Okay, I might have made it. I might have throttled things down to being a little bit too slow. Um, yeah, hold on. I'm gonna go to slow 4G instead. Do another refresh. There it is. Oh my god, that's so beautiful. All right, back to 3G, and Empty cache, hard reload. Sorry for stressing your server so much, Capcom. Or not Capcom, Bandai Namco. But if you didn't want me hard refreshing your site so much, you shouldn't have had your developers build out a loading screen that's so beautiful. Like, by gosh, that loading screen is beautiful. I don't know. I might waste my viewers' time later isolating that because like if I go to 3G, the connection is too slow for the loading screen to show up. But if I go to slow 4G, then it's too fast for it to show up. Or maybe I can quickly switch back to 3G when it comes so I can see it for longer. Actually, hold on. Oh, I was hoping going to offline would make it stay forever. But I think what I can do is slow 4G. Oh, come on. Oh man, it's so good. It's so good. I wish that I could look at that loading screen for even longer. Like the T8 that goes back and forth and back and forth. What an actually amazing design touch for something so small that probably so few people will notice that I might be the only person in the world that's ever taken notice of it before. Like legitimately, I might be the only person in the world that's ever taken notice of that particular loading icon and been like, wow, I want to look at this loading icon even more because the loading icon is just so cool. So I guess again, kudos to the like overall kudos to the designers of all of these sites because these sites look incredible. But that might be one of the best looking, coolest looking little loading screens I've ever seen on a website. And for something that's such a tiny little thing too, like for a lot of users, it won't even show up for a full second, but it's that good. Those are the kind of touches I really appreciate seeing on websites, and that really makes me smile. So probably I'll end my stream on that, on the fact that that loading screen is so good. At least I captured footage of it, so maybe if I do a VOD or a clip talking about that logo, I could edit the logo on repeat so I could take a longer look at it that way. But yeah, so I'm gonna end the stream on that. So I'm gonna go back to my vacation home. Um, Slightly shorter stream today. I would usually stream for 2 hours, and today I streamed a bit over one. But I felt like streaming today, and there was some stuff I wanted to talk about and go over. Um, I may or may not return to the Bandai Namco sites because I've kind of already gone over everything that I wanted to go over in regards to that. But who knows? Anything is possible. I generally decide what I'm going to stream like the day of. So like who knows what I'm going to be streaming next stream. It could literally be anything, and who knows when I'm going to be streaming. Like I'm still kind of working out with the whole streaming on a reliable schedule thing that they say you're supposed to do if you're going to be Twitch streaming a lot. Yeah. But yeah, short stream, but I feel like I went over a lot of good content today. So a short one, but a good one. I think this is a good stream VOD. So yeah, with that said, thank you very much for everybody who might have tuned in to lurk during the stream. Thank you very much to any VOD watchers later on. You're all very much appreciated. And I will see you guys in the next one.